All right, you ready to go?
Mm-hmm.
All right, lock in. Let's do this. Streaming and ready?
Yeah, I'm trying to. If they do those ads first, and then you gotta wait.
Yeah. All right, hello and welcome back to another 5K tennis discussion. It is a very cool Monday here in Southern Alabama. So our tennis lessons are out for today. I guess rain predominantly more than the cool. We coached in the cold all day yesterday. Hopefully everybody's doing well. I'm going to start this show just to update everyone that won prizes last week. Philip and Jose, both of your sets of strings have been mailed out. Alex Couillard,
He's on.
your hat will go out today. He won it, I think, on Friday last week or Thursday. So post office today that will sign that for you and get that out. So I've gotten in the habit of liking to start each one of these shows with a giveaway. So I'm going to continue to do that. So stay tuned for the prize giveaway question. Actually, let's go ahead and do it. All right, ready?
Okay.
All right, so I'm going to give out one of the following to whoever can answer this question first. Something new we got in, and this will be one of the things, are these Y-Tech strings and apparel face covering. So I have one here, and they're really well made. So it looks like this, face covering. So that'll be one of the items that, if you wish, that will be part of this giveaway. A Western and Southern Open trucker hat from the Western and Southern Open in Cincinnati, or 2 sets of Y-Tech strings, and you can talk to me about string preference if you win them.
Let more people join the stream before you do it.
Okay, no worries, we can do it. All right, let's get into the first topic then.
Okay.
All right, the first topic is this. We have talked about this for the past 2 years, give or take, right here, and I know that Carl and I have discussed this for a lot of years, and it has to do with Novak Djokovic. Whether you're a fan or not, if you follow the game, I'm sure that this is a debate that you have been in. Novak Djokovic, as we all know, is at 18 majors, and Rafael Nadal and Roger Federer are tied at 20. Over the years, Novak Djokovic has arguably always had a tougher draw. Now, I hate the word tough draw, because in a field of 128 athletes, there's no such thing as an easy draw. They're all primed athletes. But the question remains, does
17 Grand Slams. The guys are telling you 17, not 18.
Or 17, whatever. But he is desperately trying to make 20. And we know that different parts of the world and the media and the backers of tournaments have different ideologies and beliefs. Would it be safe to say, would you agree or disagree, that Novak Djokovic's draws may be more loaded than ever? Would you be shocked if Novak Djokovic is handed some of the roughest draws he's ever dealt with in his playing career?
No, I mean, I think they're going to do it on purpose, just because he opens his mouth a lot and he's not really liked by the media as much as probably the other guys. So I think they're going to make it tougher for him to catch up with Nadal or Federer.
Wasn't it, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years ago, where Novak Djokovic would always get the roughest side of the draw? He would always face like Federer before the final, or it would be Nadal before the final, and then if he would get through them, then Murray would be waiting there. So he never would get the Murray early on, and then he would just meet Murray in the finals and then walk right through Murray. Am I right or wrong? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember that. It's no conspiracy theory, wildlife. I just think that they're going to make it tougher on him. I mean, these guys are close to retirement, even though everybody says, oh, they got a lot of years. They're close to retirement. I'm sure that the media wants to see new champions. I think they're going to make it tough for him. I don't think Nadal's going to win the Australian Open either, but I think they will make it tough on Djokovic.
I would be shocked if Novak did not have the toughest draw of anyone in the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just guessing that. It wouldn't be a shock to me. We've seen it before. Nonetheless, I don't think that, however tough the draw may be, I don't think that it's going to stop him from winning his 9th.
Yeah.
Do you? Any thoughts?
I don't think he'll win the Australian Open this year.
Who's going to stop him?
I think there's a lot of players that could stop him. Thiem, Medvedev, Tsitsipas. He's having a bad day, one of those days where he decides to have a temper tantrum like he did at the U.S. Open, anything can happen.
We'll see. Thoughts on that, comments on that? Again, this is not a new topic. This is a topic that we've discussed with viewers and people for years. So don't be shocked if again he has one of the roughest draws you have seen to date. And we'll move forward. Anybody have any comments?
Yeah, there's
on
a
that?
lot. Wildlife said it is tougher. It is if it's tougher, it's only because the competition is getting tougher. Gene said he doesn't believe in easy draws.
I don't either.
Mitrovic said he's older. That's all. Gene says all 7 players are tough you face in a slam. Matt asks, how does the draw work? Is it not random?
Well, okay. The draws are for the top 32. There's 32 seeds in a major. So the seeding is not supposed to be random. You're supposed to have 1 at top, 2 bottom. They'll sometimes flip around 3 going up top or 3 going down bottom. And this is why I bring up the toughest draw conspiracy theory, because if look, I'm a USTA official. I've run a ton of tournaments, and it's hard work. But how we generally do that is we get the 1 seed on top, 2 seed on bottom, 3 seed back up top, 4 seed down bottom, and keep filling them in until you get done with the seeding. Then the remaining players, the unseeded players, are generally randomized. However, in the pro circuit of tennis, you have to be kind of naive to think that they're going to randomize it, because there's millions of dollars at stake and millions of players that have huge marketing contracts that generate more money for tournament and player and the business themselves if they go farther into the tournament. So if I'm Nike and I have a player that's got a $10 million a year sponsorship, I want that player to get more TV coverage than possible, because Nike's paying the tournament, he's paying the player. So you have to be naive to think that it's completely randomized at the highest level with all the money at stake. Now, that's
especially now that they're not making as much money as they were before. The ticket sales are going to be a lot lower. The revenue sales for merchandise is going to be a lot lower because of the coronavirus. They're allowing less people in there. So they're going to want to make it exciting. They want to get those TV ratings up. How do you get TV ratings up?
Selling advertisements.
WWE, I guess. Yeah. Go wrestling.
So let's postulate a question here. We have, and I'm just going to throw out a name. Okay, we have Nick Kyrgios, who we know sells tickets. He's hated by a lot, but loved by a lot. Mm-hmm. His ranking has dropped to what, 46, 50 in the world right now, give or take, somewhere in there, right?
Right. He's not even playing for the ATP Cup Australia.
Okay, so let's choose him in this narrative. All right, so we have Djokovic, the number 1 player in the world, and 46 in the world is not seeded. So hypothetically, if you're randomizing things, you're pulling the name out of a hat and you're slapping a lower ranked player to play a seeded player. That's how it works, right? Now, do you think that it would be in the tournament's best interest, say at the Australian Open, to put Djokovic against Kyrgios in the first round? No, because one of the biggest ticket selling players is going to lose in the first round. And they understand that. So if you randomize it, then you would have a chance, a probability of that occurring. They can't afford to let that occur. So that's why I bring up the topic, because it's not random. It should be, but it's not.
Okay. While I brought up, it said Thiem was on Rafa's side of the draw at both the 2020 Australian Open and French Open.
Yeah.
So do we think we'll see it opposite? I think we will.
It could be.
Yeah.
It is up to those behind closed doors to make it as economically profitable as possible. I don't know another way to put it, but it should be randomized, and the seeding for the most part is 1, 2, but right there, instead of throwing the 3 back up top and the 4 down on bottom, sometimes they'll flip those based upon the economics of marketing and then so forth, because you don't want the hypothetical Kyrgios and Djokovic hypothetically in the first round, right?
Alex said they did it to Wawrinka and Murray last year at the French Open, though. They met in the first round. Yeah, that was tough for Murray.
Well, don't forget, 2 years in a row, they were hammering Wawrinka and Dimitrov in the first round.
Yeah.
But how do those tournament organizers look at players like that? Do they say, they're possibly washed up, they may be at the last leg of their career, instead of, having a close match against Sonego, instead of having a close match against Sonego, let's put these two in the first round and sell some tickets on day one, instead of putting a tired Dimitrov or a tired Murray or a tired Wawrinka against a Sonego. Let's sell some tickets off one of these two guys and put them together in the first.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So Again, it's money talks, everything else walks. But let's see what happens to Djokovic in the Australian Open. I have a feeling, and I agree with Gene Swart, there's no such thing as an easy draw.
No, there isn't. You could have a bad day and lose to anybody. You really could. I mean, you could have such an off day that you can't even hit a ball. It's happened to us.
Yeah.
It's happened to many players. I mean, it happened to Nadal at the French. It's happened to Federer. You know, it's happened to Djokovic. We're like, why did he lose to that person?
Yeah, bad day at the
So it can
office.
happen. Serena. I mean, how do you lose to Vinci? Roberto Vinci. How do you lose to Roberto Vinci?
That was a rough go.
Yeah, I mean,
Especially when like Drake and everybody was like there to count the chickens, you know, before they hatched, and it didn't happen.
Yeah.
All right. Any comments on that?
They just, I mean, the poor Murray. True, that's another way to look at it. Sonego, ROL. Matt says, so Serena Sharapova U.S. Open was planned. I don't understand that one. Sorry.
Oh, didn't they play a first round match together not terribly long ago? Like 2 years ago?
I know
Round?
Sharapova played Halep coming back from her, remember when she had to stay off the tour she was on probation, whatever they call it. She was suspended for a while, and she played Halep the first round and beat her. I don't know. Let's see.
It's a great question. Again, there's exceptions.
Oh, he said first round match 2019. Where? U.S. Open?
I think so. I think I remember that.
I just remember Halep. I don't remember Serena being her first round.
I do remember that. And there was
2019.
Yeah, and there was a Halep match in there as well. Again, I look at those matches either calling out the theories that people say about rigging draws, then that would either throw it out the window or back to the Wawrinkas and Murrays and Dimitrov setups. Hey, these two are kind of on the tail end of their career. Let's sell some tickets right off. Let's start the tournament with the bang. I do think there's planning in matches.
Sure,
like
I
that.
can see why they
definitely
did. I
do.
can see.
And her ranking was really low then.
It was low. She was just coming back into the tour. You know, they did it to her with Halep, and poor Halep loses that match. You know, she came out with her bling bling dress, the black dress with the little,
Sequins
diamonds
on it,
all over it, very expensive dress, and she won that match. Good for her. But they kind of did want to make her prove herself. You know, they kind of wanted to punish her. So I could see why they gave her Serena first round, knowing they do not like each other.
Good point. Great topic. And we'll continue that in comments. But who just mentioned Serena and Sharapova?
Matt Cain.
All right, Matt Cain. We're going to shift gears to the next topic because of Matt Cain. And it was next in line anyway. So Carla and I were reading a comment from a James Stephen just the other day. And basically the comment was this. I don't know if you have it there. If not, I just kind of have a nugget from it. But a viewer asked us to talk a little bit more about Serena Williams' chances, honest chances of winning, of getting her 24th major and tying Margaret Court. So his actual comment was, we were talking about Serena a little bit, and then we changed subjects really quickly. And he said, I was hoping you guys would talk a little bit more about that and what she has to do, whether she can or can't. So the question for you, Carla, is what does Serena Williams have to do, if you think she can do it at all, to win her 24th major? Can she do it? If she can or can't, why?
To me, the only way she can do it is by keeping all her matches, especially the first week, really short. Win her matches in 2 sets. Try not to get into baseline rallies. Be aggressive the way she used to be. I mean, everyone fears Serena because she had a huge serve. First, second serve was the same, and people fear that. They backed up. Now they don't. In the second serve, they get into the baseline. They didn't do that before. She needs to be a risky player. Even if she misses the shots, go for it. Put a message out there. I'm back. I'm here to play. I'm here to win. If she gets into those long rallies in the first week, like she did last year, playing 3 sets against players she should be 2 sets, there's no way she has a chance. Shorter points, because she's just not, even if she's in shape, you're not in shape the way you were in your 20s. You can't compare the 20s to the late 30s. It's not the same.
Yeah.
I mean, look at me right now. My shoulder's killing me. Before I used to be able to play every day. It's, you're prone to injury as you get older. So shorter points and more aggressive.
Paul Annacone, when he was coaching Roger Federer, would always, as Roger Federer aged, would always say certain things such as you age, we need to shorten up the points. We need to try to set an average of 4 or 5 shots and end the point. Yes, that does not happen all the time, right? You're going to have points that are outside the standard bell curve. When you age, though, the longer the points are played. If I'm averaging 15 shots on a rally, right? We have to think about how many points are in one match, much less how many points are within 7 matches inside of a major or a draw with 128 players, right? So you just mentioned it yourself. Hey, you're 41, and then you go out and give it your all, and you're a little sore the next day. Me, for instance, the same thing, but worse. She's human. She's 40. She has a child. She's not the same player she was many years ago. However, she has still made 4 major finals since she has won her last one and just was not able to close the door. So that tells you she is still a very elite and arguably the second best player in the world outside of those that, took the finals from her, right? On that given day. So how do we conserve energy? How do we stay fresher? We have to play a quicker match.
Much
the
quicker.
only way that you can, that's the only answer you can give her.
Yeah, that's it. You gotta put those balls away. Be a risky player. You're gonna have to go for the lines. And maybe as you hit that line, come in the net, even though she's not as comfortable at the net, put it away. You just don't have the opportunity. Make them pass you. Make your opponent nervous. Girls don't like seeing girls at the net. They just don't. A guy is a different thing, but girls, if you have a girl at the net, either she's very confident or very good, and they don't like that. And most people can't go for that passing shot in the first week of a Grand Slam. You play the lower ranked players. They don't have the mentality, they don't have the experience to pass you. They might miss. So you might want to do that.
Number 2, go ahead and go big, as always, on that first and second serve. Now, serving big with age, it changes as well. I'll tell you, I feel like physically, in terms of lifting weights, doing push-ups, that I am as strong as I ever was. However, as I got into my 40s, 43, I know even though I feel stronger than ever, it's hard to swing as freely as I did, say, when I was 12, 14, 16, 20, 22, and so forth. You can swing freely certain days, but some days you can't, which makes you miss your spots. So as long as she can stay mentally focused, as long as she can keep the match shorter, as long as she doesn't get distracted by, pouting or, hunched over, and, sometimes she gets in these mental breakdown modes where she's blaming at somebody, she's pissed off at this person. As long as she can stay mentally focused and not, start crying or, look like she's about to have a mental breakdown, then I think she will get her 24. However, we have seen the same thing from her, though, for the past, say, 2 years. We have seen the big matches, she breaks down, she gets emotional.
That's what I'm saying. She needs to change it, Justin. She
needs
to change it. Perhaps pump herself up. Forget about the negative. When you show any opponent that you are negative, and you're just giving them more confidence. She just needs to keep that straight face. One thing Sharapova did really well is she could be down 6-0 and she still kept the same face. You never knew with her emotions whether she was down or up, and she needs to do that, not show so much emotion, because once you start crying and whining and bitching, you are letting a lot of energy out, and then you got to suck that energy back in. You got to get all that energy back in and pump yourself up, because females, we're so mental, we're down. It takes us a while to come back up. It's not like guys, they snap out of it.
For the most part. If I get mad on the court, I know it's over, because I have a really difficult time snapping out of it, right? All right, so last question for you, Carla. Does Serena Williams win her 24th major?
I don't know. I can't even say yes or no. I think that she's won a lot of Australian Opens. I mean, this would be a good tournament to do it. Someone asked which tournament, Yinghouse said, which slam is Serena most likely to get a number 24? I think it would be the Australian or Wimbledon. I think the U.S. Open is too much pressure for her for some reason right now.
I was going to say...
Definitely not the French.
I was going to say U.S. Open or Wimbledon, and I say the U.S. Open again because it's home field advantage in a way, but you brought up Roberta Vinci. If she can't beat Vinci in a final 3 years younger, then she's going to have a really difficult time doing it 3 years older and being a mother.
I think Australian's been her baby, and Wimbledon, she has the game for it. So I think there's her chance. U.S. Open is Osaka's. That's Osaka's baby right now. And there's too much pressure. Too many players can play, they give it their best. It's the last slam of the year. You want to do your best. And they give it their best. So it's the toughest to win. Yeah, the animals are hungry come the U.S. Open. Wimbledon, I'm going to have to disagree with you at that being the one. Only because it's the fastest surface. And with that said... Her service faster.
Well, I understand that. But her movement on the court is not as fluid as it used to be. It's nice if you're a very fluid mover and someone that can get the points finished quickly there. And she has proved over the past couple of years that she just cannot do that. So I'm going to give the edge at the U.S. Open. Now, if she's super tired by that time, then again, it's a lost cause. If she doesn't do it this year, tie it. She still needs 2 more to pass.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I don't think she needs those slams to prove that she's the best, though. Well, let me read a few comments. Team Grow says, I think she has a better chance of winning a slam than Fed, but I still think the chance is slim. Then he says her conditioning and stamina over 2 weeks is the biggest concern. Wildlife says Serena has to improve her fitness and get a good draw. There's a handful of players who aren't afraid of her anymore. Alex says Serena shouldn't put so much pressure in winning 24. Half of the court slams were against amateurs and smaller draws. We know it's not fair, that she has to pass that. William Spencer says game style is going to kill Andy. I guess we're talking about Andy Murray. His body isn't the same. It was, yet he's still playing the same style. This is what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And another example of Murray, if he wants to do anything, he's got to stop having 20, 30 rallies from the baseline.
Especially with a
with a hip. I mean, you can't do that. You have to end the point real quick, which is why Federer, you notice, he tries to sometimes go for a lot because he knows he can't play like Nadal or like Djokovic. They still have the body, the energy to do it,
to defend for hours.
Exactly. Daniil Medvedev says, I think Serena's still capable. Halep, Osaka, and Barty are going to be very tight contenders, though.
Don't forget about Andreescu, by the way. I'm not going to spend any time on that. It'll be her first tournament back, but Andreescu does plan to play. I think her rust will be thick, so I don't see her doing major damage there, but do you think a rusty Andreescu could take out Serena Williams in the Australian Open? This is one of those type of first round matches that could happen, but I think Andreescu's ranking was protected.
Michael Walker, of course, says Serena's 39. No player has won a major in the late 30s in an open era. I know, I've read this comment a lot.
It's a good point.
I don't see that changing. Ying Hao said she can completely cross out passing it. She should just focus on tying the 24 record. William Spencer says, this is about Andy Murray. I don't want to really talk about Andy Murray right now. We'll get to that. Andy's a victim of the era big three. Yeah. All right, we can go.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right, switching gears. This is a quick Carla thing here. Carla has taken 2 bets, by the way. Carla has taken a bet with Marie TL. I mentioned in the last show or the show before that I thought that Ons Jabeur didn't say could win a major. Carla laughed at that.
I'm still laughing.
It's okay. Again, I said could, not would. I think that Ons Jabeur has a lot more fitness to attain in order to push deep into a major. However, Carla did take a bet that if Ons Jabeur did win a major, now win, right? It wasn't make a final, it was win it, right? Correct, Carla?
Mm-hmm.
All right. If Ons Jabeur won a major, that Carla would either dress up like Ons Jabeur, go all out, however she can figure that out. I don't know how you would pull that off, but I think you can.
I have to get a headband because she wears that.
Put on a little weight there or something.
Just blow up my stomach.
Blow it out a little bit. But she will do a whole show dressed like Jabeur. As well, Carla took a bet with Cam Williams out there. Cam and I tend to think that Ashley Barty will make the second week of the Australian Open. Carla does not think that Ashley Barty will make the second week of the Australian Open. She seems to think she will be too rusty to do so.
And then if any of you want to join in that bet, feel welcome to. Going back to your Jabeur bet, Sabalenka just beat her. Sabalenka.
Yeah.
Sabalenka beat Jabeur.
Isn't Sabalenka on a 13-match win streak?
She can win all the small tournaments. She gets to a Grand Slam, it's like done.
Okay.
Oh man, Sabalenka. Out of all the people she loses to, just hitting hard, Sabalenka, who has no variety, and she's gonna win a slam.
She's won.
Jabeur is gonna win a slam.
She's won 13 matches.
She can't beat Sabalenka, but she's gonna win a slam.
It's possible. I said could. I didn't say would.
Okay.
All right. So again, if Ashley Barty makes it to the second week, so if she makes it to the 4th round or quarterfinals, then Carla will lose that bet and have to do what Cam Williams and I come up with for you. And I think you will definitely be losing that bet.
Wildlife says we also have a long-term bet about Team winning multiple slams. Yes, we do.
Okay, so she's down. She's got 3 bets in the bag.
Alex Couillard said Carla Arena's game is more consistent now. She's starting to defend better. Again, I know she can do good at these smaller tournaments. Every time she gets to a Grand Slam, something happens. She's going to face Sakari. Sakari's on a roll. She beat Coco Gauff. Who did she beat just now?
Kenen.
Kenen. Who else did she beat? Muguruza. So, I mean, if Sabalenka can beat Sakari, then I'm going to say, okay. But I guarantee you Sakari is going to beat her. Let's see. I don't think Jabeur, Layla says, I don't think Jabeur looked good in Abu Dhabi. Small sample size, but I wouldn't bet on her for the Aussie for sure. Yes, thank you. Then William Spencer says, to be fair to Jabeur, she's only had 10 years as a pro to get in shape. Give her another 18 months. Are you kidding me?
I think that's fair enough.
Are you kidding me?
You know, she might have.
Wait a minute. When you're trying to become a pro, you get in shape to become a pro.
Yeah.
Not the other way around.
But when you become a pro, you at least one that's being successful, you get the millions of dollars, and now you can hire on the nutritionists, the trainers, the entourage.
Mhm.
You can't tell me that before last year. So a year or 2 years or 3 years ago, that Ons Jabeur had the money to have an entourage.
What are you winking at? Someone says, Matt, okay, he's winking at Carla. You would if you could. I don't understand what the winking's for.
Don't know.
Mitrovic, you said enough about women's tennis. I went back to your comment. You said Martina is a man, Navratilova is a male, so I think is Serena best of all time. Come on, man. Navratilova is not a man. She would kick your ass, just saying.
All right, I'm going to do the giveaway.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to throw this out there. All right, I'm going to ask a question. The first person to answer this question correctly can either choose 2 sets of Y-Tech strings, some of these, or one of these Y-Tech face coverings, very nice, or the Western and Southern Open Shucker hat. And look, you know, this is like a $30 value, you know, roughly $30 value. I'm not sure what these are. They're not for sale yet.
We should send Mitrovic a skirt. Maybe he'll like that.
Yeah, we could get him a skirt.
Yeah.
No, all right. So, and lastly, some of you may not have any interest for that. I'll give you like a $10 option. You can take the $10. I'll send it to you with PayPal, Venmo, Cash Out, whatever. So if you don't want that, throw yourself a $10 question here. You ready for the question?
Mm-hmm.
All right, here we go. Who was the last player to win an ATP or WTA level event or tournament with a wooden tennis racket, and who did they beat? Who was the last player to win a tournament with a wooden tennis racket, and who did they beat? All right.
They're probably gonna Google it up. And by the way, this guy Michael Walker, he can cook. He sent me pictures of his meal that he made for his mom. Wow. I wish I was in New York at that time. He did better than I did.
All right, we'll cook it.
No, him cook it.
Oh, learn the recipe.
Learn the recipe.
All right, while they're looking that up.
While I said I'm waiting for Michael Walker to answer this. Yannick Noah.
Got it. Who is that?
Michael Walker.
Knew that was coming. Let me know, Mike. I'll get it sent to you. I'll send you 10 or one.
What was the question? Slam or tournament?
Anything. The last tournament, that was the answer. Wait, who did he say?
Yannick Noah.
Oh, no, that's incorrect.
Because Team Girls said Messier, which is right.
Team Groves got it.
Mhm.
Yannick Noah won the last major with the wooden tennis racket, but Messier won a tournament in 1989. I think it was like the Newsweek Cup or something like that. So Messier is the correct answer. Who was that?
Team Groves.
All right, then Team Groves. Let me know what you find out. I think he's had strings before. I think strings, hat, $10. Let me know, and I'll get it out today. All right. Who wanted to switch gears to men's tennis?
Of course, Mitrovic.
All right, Mitrovic. We're gonna switch gears to men's tennis. Next topic. Sasha, aka Alexander Zverev, and David Ferrer have parted ways. Is that a shock, Carla?
No, we talked about them parting ways just in our last show. It's not a shock. First of all, when originally I think it was Wildlife who told me, or Gene who told me that Ferrer was coaching Zverev, I was like, really?
Yeah.
I'm like, these guys are like complete opposite games. One's tall, one's short, one's a defender, one's a powder, one's really nice, one's an a-hole. I mean, they were completely different. 2 different countries, 2 different accents, just different.
Yeah.
I'm not shocked.
And Ferrer has been the consummate tennis player, pro, for his entire life. I mean, have you ever seen David Ferrer have an absolute bratty meltdown on the court? Maybe when he was really, really young. But David Ferrer was always the humble, quiet for the most part, just soccer player type, running the court, defending very well tennis player. Zverev's just not that guy. So I think initially I thought that maybe, he would rub off on Zverev. But then again, if Lendl couldn't do it and no one else could do it, why would Ferrer do it with little coaching experience.
Yeah, and I was trying to find the comment. I took a screenshot of what Ferrer said.
Yeah, I remember what he said. He did his best way to elude to Zverev. Still has a lot of growing up to do, but didn't say it that way. So Ferrer, and I think his quote was something along the lines of, it wasn't a great fit. He still has a lot to learn, something along those lines. But look, Zverev in the past, 8 or 9 months has been in the media for battering.
Well, he said, we have different beliefs in diet and how you train and how you live your life. We have a completely different concept. It's not the time. I'm not the right person for him.
Exactly.
And Lendo said, I think that Zverev could be a great champion, one day if he matures.
Yeah. So I think both Lendo and Ferrer alluded to the point that, different lanes of argument, if that came out right, saying that, we're not a good fit with one another because we have different beliefs on how to train and how to live our life off the court. In other words, he parties too much. He's not super disciplined. He's got a bunch of attitude. He's a little boy. He's not ready for us men yet. Do you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So then, on top of that, he's got the thing with the girl calling him out.
Yeah,
for
but
battery.
She's not gonna press charges, and then he's gonna be a dad.
And a dad. And
I hate for him to be my kid's dad. I'm just saying.
Well, and then makes a questionable U.S. Open. Was it a final or a semi? He made the final.
He made the
and
final.
Lost to Thiem.
Yeah.
So isn't that crazy? I don't even really remember if it was the semi or the final as of last year's U.S. Open, because it was such an abhorrent, in my opinion, final. Mm-hmm. The final was ridiculous, especially because Zverev was there. I can see Thiem there, but he wouldn't have been there if it wasn't for the throat ball. Mm-hmm. But anyway, and now he's got being a father to deal with. So Ferrer would have been a good fit, I would have thought. I mean, Ferrer's in a veteran.
He's a nice guy. You can tell he's probably a very patient guy. But geez, you just retired from tennis and you want to deal with somebody bratty? Come on, no.
Yeah, and he's too old, Zverev, now to still be calling him a child. What is he, 22, 23 or something?
Yeah.
I mean, the child stuff's over. Giving him excuses is never going to change him. Someone needs to come out and coach him, and if he continues that, it's to say, look, this guy's uncoachable. He's a freaking brat. He needs to grow up, get lost.
So let me go back to the comments here. Yinghouse says good on Ferrer, while I says Ferrer had enough puppy hate.
Yeah, we gave him hell.
Mitrovic said that Ferrer is one of his favorite guys. Alex Couillard said Ferrer had Nick Kyrgios's body, then he would have won a few slams. Team Grove says Zverev lost a great coach. I think he couldn't tolerate working with him. How many coaches? While I was asking, how many coaches have Zverev been through? I don't know.
We met one of his coaches that was a German coach that coached him as a junior at a tennis tournament here. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he won't mention names. I mean, he didn't say anything terrible, but one of his junior coaches, he saw our show and he was like, "Hey, you guys do a great job. Surprised you don't have more viewers. You were talking about Zverev. I didn't say this, but even as a junior, he was one of the toughest students to keep from just causing a mess of things in clinics." And on the court. Mm-hmm. So it hasn't changed, and that was a junior coach when he was a boy.
Right.
So here we are in the same position.
Same thing. Layla C says Zverev seems to have issues in relationships, coaching, management, personal. So not a shock when another one breaks up. That's right. His agent, he was suing his agent. His agent apparently took money or something from him. Or I don't know. Let's see here. Wildlife. Zverev had a very unremarkable run to the U.S. Open Chokefest. Final. William Spencer says, could have been a good matchup, a more mature, steady base with Sasha needs. Trouble is, I doubt Sasha is mature enough to mature, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, he's not as bad as Kyrgios with maturity, but he's not far off. You know what I mean? He's just, they could be so much better if they work so much harder.
Yeah, and then last one, Spencer says, Sasha's been through more coaches than he has hot girlfriends.
He's going through a lot, and it hasn't ended.
What's up, Hitchhiker?
All right. Next topic. This one will be brief. But Rafael Nadal has 2 cousins, Tony Nadal's sons. What is it? Joanne and Tony. Mm-hmm. 17 and 16-year-old tennis players that just won their first qualifying matches at an ITF event in Mallorca, Spain, at Nadal's academy. There's an ITF event going on there. Have you heard about this, Carla, number 1? And number 2?
I read about it.
What are your thoughts on Nadal's cousins coming out, winning their first qualifying match into an ITF event? What are your thoughts looking forward on these 2 boys or any young boys or girls at this point in their career moving forward. What are your thoughts here?
I mean, good for them. If they weren't Nadal's cousins, or if they weren't, Tony's sons, we wouldn't hear about this, because there's many kids who qualify for an ITF. Many,
Exactly.
many. Just because they have that famous last name, that's why we hear about it. Too soon to say they're going to be good. 16, 17, there are many of people right now competing at that age.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Perfectly said. Thoughts are identical. Tennis is a game like no other. Every sport is highly difficult. The thing about tennis is you don't have a teammate to help you out if you have a bad day. If I'm a football player and I'm not running the ball very well and I'm a running back, then hey, quarterback, throw it to a receiver, help me out today. Or if I'm a lineman not doing very well that day, the coach can sub in another lineman, whatever. But you can't do that on the tennis court. With that said, the last name is absolutely the reason why we are hearing about this. It doesn't necessarily matter who your uncle is or who your cousin is or whatever. The fact is that you have to work hard by yourself, individually on that court. And like you said, there are tens of thousands of people every year that win their first qualifying ITF match.
Yeah, and lucky for them that they have a famous uncle and cousin, and they can train at an academy, unlike many others that have to struggle.
And actually,
so for them, they're on the good. They're in a good spot.
Yeah.
They can keep playing as many as they want.
And this leads to another topic. How much of tennis success is not based upon extremely hard work? I mean, you have to work hard, but how much of tennis success is based on extremely hard work and who you know, what you got, where you're raised, and what you're born into?
Mm-hmm.
It has a lot to do with it. There are players, Carla, I'll use her for an example. When I first met Carla, there was no reason why she wasn't top 50 in the world at that point. Anybody out there that's known Carla her entire life, Carla's dad, I don't know if Philip and New York was still watching you play at that level.
Left New York when I was
but
14.
Carla, when I first met Carla, there was no reason why she wasn't top 50 in the world. Well, the reason was she was born, as a lot of us, with a middle-class family that worked very hard. Her father, being the sole coach, coached her to basically that level until you started playing with the Reebok team.
Mm-hmm.
But why wasn't she top 50 in the world? Did she have an uncle or a dad that had a tennis academy somewhere? Nope, it had to be paid for, not affordable. Did she have 5 or 10 other coaches besides her dad? Maybe 1 or 2, but not affordable. Mm-hmm. Did you have the best diets? I know your dad's a great cook and always cooked very healthy for you. Mm-hmm. However, did you have an entourage or a cafeteria to go back to with all the finest cooked meals and the gluten-frees and all this stuff? Or were you just eating what was given to you or held to pay?
I actually starved a lot. I remember my dad paying a coach monthly to live with him. I starved a lot, I can tell you. And I worked graveyard shift at Winn-Dixie just to eat some food. But yeah, I think I'm reading these comments. It's definitely luck, exposure, somebody seeing you. By the way, when I trained, I went to Serena and Venus' house before they were Grand Slam champions. I got to see them train. They had a mansion already, by the way, before they became Grand Slam champions. They already had the money. The money was coming into them, in case you guys didn't know that. They were living in West Palm Beach. I think this was in 1999, before Serena, 1998, 1997, before they made it huge into the tour. I mean, their dad already had some type of contract, so they were getting that coaching. They were going to the Rick Macy Academy, which not just anyone can go to the Rick Macy Academy and say, hey, train my daughter. He saw something. He saw dollar signs, which is why he trained them. They were in the right spot at the right time. Plus, let's not forget, they got exposure when they were little girls. I remember Serena and Venus' dad doing he was the one that was evaluating me for the Reebok team. So, I mean, it's luck. It's a lot of luck. It's exposure, and it's also having money. Money helps.
Money definitely helps.
Yeah.
Here's another example of this, and it's not just in tennis. It's in anything. It's in business. It's at your buddy's house. For instance, college for me. I busted my ass in college, studied my ass off. Mm-hmm. Did extremely well. However, let's look at some of my acquaintances or other friends in college. Never studied, almost failed out, D students, dropping classes, took them 6, 7, 8 years to graduate, but they got an excellent type of economic position in the job force. Why? Because A, maybe their dad had a business, or B, maybe their dad or mother owned a company and they just put him in there. So It does have a lot
It
to do
helps.
with how you're born, if you're silver spoon raised. Because again, there are so many players that we come across as coaches, etc., that could already be challenging at ITF Challenger events, but they can't because they have no funds to get there. They have no funds for the hotels and everything else. So good luck to Uncle Tony's two boys.
Oh, they will make it in the tour. We'll hear of them maybe be in the hundreds and stuff, and maybe they have that superstardom that you need. I don't know.
But I can assure you that if they do, it's not going to be some heartwarming Cinderella story about who came from nothing and worked their butt off and proved everybody wrong. It'll be, okay, well, you should be here because you were born into it. You've got all the money in the world, the nicest facility in the world. So is it a big deal that they won their first ITF matches? Not really to me. Wish them the best of luck. But it's not really a great story for me.
Yeah, I've never seen the movie Mommy Dearest, so I don't know. You can't blame people for having rich parents. Definitely not.
Nobody's blaming.
Nobody's blaming. It's just saying that sometimes, it helps out. Yes, there are those that work from nothing. Again, they get exposed. Something happens. Somebody sees them. They were there at the right time.
Once again,
they were there at the right time, just like Sharapova's. Great story. Her parents came from nothing. They took a chance. Someone saw her. I was reading an article about her, why she didn't become a U.S. citizen. Well, she said because, she felt she was Russian, and in Russia they work hard, and that's what they had to do. So she never wanted to change, her citizenship. Plus, her family came from there. I mean, there's many players. Azarenka, she had a sponsor family that saw potential in her, and they said they would take a percentage once she made it. There's a lot of players with great stories out there.
There's quite a few.
Yeah.
There's quite a few good stories.
Mm-hmm.
Another 17-year-old player, by the way, that we have talked about for about a year and a half now, since he was 15. I think he's 17 now. Is the young Spaniard Carlos Alcaraz. We talked about him. Did one whole show about him last year, early at the beginning of the year. I think he just won a 3-set qualifying match as well. So again, it's nice to hear about the Nadal boys.
Yeah, and let me tell you.
But what about Carlos Alcaraz? That's from Spain as well. That doesn't come from near as much. We're kind of reading about him on page 97, and we're reading about these guys on page 1. I think it should be reversed.
Also, by the way, guys, in the 90s and the 80s, those players that didn't have money was a bit easier because tennis, like you had Prince, you had Wilson, those companies were sponsoring. I was telling him that when we were in New York, and if Philip was on, we were in New York. It was so easy to, if you were good, you got the sponsors and they paid for your tournaments and the traveling. Now it's tougher. The sponsors have gone away. So to be poor playing tennis right now is a lot tougher to make it through than it was back in the 80s, the 70s, and the 90s. Now it's a lot tougher. The world is a lot tougher. You don't have those programs that we had before.
Furthermore, and I can only speak for here in the United States, but you guys internationally can definitely comment on this and we'll read it so everybody's apprised of it. But here in the United States, I was born into the game. I put the racket in my hand for the first time at 2 years old. Older sister that was a successful player that played. My father played. He's 83 and was born into it. So it runs a long time in my family. But let's just jump back to the late 70s and 80s. There was a public tennis court on every block, at every apartment complex, at every city park. There was a nice public court.
Which is why we had a lot of American players.
You could walk out on the court, you could get a court, and if not, the people playing would see you and say, hey, I know the rule, we'll be off the court in 30 minutes, and the courts would stay packed, and everybody would go to the local park or whatever and play all day. It's not the case anymore. Why? Because the same courts that were fresh and new in the late 70s for me and in the 80s now are either not there or are totally destroyed with no fences hanging down. So that's one thing that has changed. Now if you try to go out and find a public court to play on, it's nearly impossible, at least where I live. And if you do, then it is absolutely derelict, right? Number one. Number two, the cost of equipment these days. When I was a boy, I started with the wooden racket and then switched to the standard head Wilson Ultra 2. If anybody remembers the Ultra 2 with the 78 square inch head, I played with that standard head. And then the original Pro Staff. The original Pro Staff, when it came out, was nowhere near what it would cost to buy one now. Inflation, economy, but now you want a good quality tennis racket. Let's say the Pure Arrows that I hit with, or Pure Strikes, or your blades. I mean, they're $220 a piece. I string them, and if I was paying for my own stringing job, I don't. But if I was paying for my own stringing job, add $35, $40 to that, I got a $300 racket, and that's one. and a good player needs to have a couple of rackets, right?
Absolutely.
So,
I can tell you, like back in the days, my dad would pay $10 for us to do clinics. Not anymore.
Yeah. So, see, our rates now, Carla and I, as we coach, our main competitors as coaches are like an hour away and like $60 more per hour than we do. Carla and I will charge 30, 40 depending, and then clinics depending, like $10 or so for each person. And we do that because we were born in the game and we know how difficult it is and we know how expensive it is to play now.
Yeah.
So Carla and I's kind of...
Which was why we get some of these kids back twice a week instead of just once.
Yeah, so Carla and I's take on it is let's be realistic and make it affordable for these kids to play.
Yeah.
And let's see them multiple times a week and not just once a week so we can have our students beating our competition students. So you do see what I'm saying? Some of these pros are charging $120 an hour. Some of them are charging $85 an hour. Some of them are charging $20 and $30 per person for 8 people, 10 people, 12-person clinics. That's a couple $100 an hour. It's crazy. And then we ask ourselves why it's become an expensive sport.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right, next topic.
Sabalenka, I'm not going to...
$120 an hour to say, vamos! Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And most of it's just ball feeding. Mm-hmm. And Carla and I have a ball mower, too, on top of that. So some of these $80, $120 an hour lessons, they hit balls, and then once they're all done, all the students are picking up balls, and that takes 15 or 20 minutes. So your hour is basically a half hour because you're picking up balls. Mm-hmm. Now, our rate is like a fourth of everybody else's rate. They get more for it. And we have a ball mower. So while they're just getting a drink of water, we zip around the court with the ball mower. We have them picked up by the time they're done drinking their water. So anyway, this we'll just talk about for a moment. It has to do with women's tennis. Sorry, Mitrovic out there.
He'll get over it.
But I want to talk about Sofia Kenen for a second. Sofia Kenen in Abu Dhabi started in a first-round match, I think, against Flipkins. Mm-hmm. Okay. Flipkins won that first set. Now, Flipkins is a really crafty player. Okay, Flipkins has been around the block. She's from, Belgium, Denmark, something like that. Anyway, she's a really crafty player. Mm-hmm. She won the first set against Kenen in the first round match, and lo and behold, unfortunately for Flipkins, she went down with an ankle injury, and Kenen won the match. So Sofia Kenen was in trouble in her first match of Abu Dhabi, right? Mm-hmm. Then in the second round, Kenen beats Putintseva, right? Mm-hmm. Played Putintseva and took her to 3 sets, right? Mm-hmm. So almost lost to Flipkins except for an injury. Barely beat Putintseva, and Putintseva had a match point against her as well, mm-hmm. right? Mm-hmm. And then loses to Sakari. And what was the score? Did Kenen get beaten badly by Sakari?
Yeah, Sakari lost the first set 2-6, and then Sakari comes back 6-2 and 6-0.
So ouch. There's a bagel there. Now, number one, a couple of things. Why is Sabalenka doing so well right now? We had talked about Sabalenka since she was just coming on tour, and we would always call her what? Hitting off the back foot forehand. We would always give her grief about it. Here's her bun sticking up in the air, and every time she hits, she's getting set, she's ready to come forward and strike the ball. But instead of going through the ball and into the ball, she hits the ball, brushes the backside of it, follows through behind her head, Nadal-esque like all the time. Not saying that doing that's bad, but all the time, you're going to hit short a lot. So she would hit the ball, brush up the backside of it, hit off the back foot. She'd fall away from her shot, causing short balls, causing the opponent to come on the offensive, letting her opponent step into the court and just nail the ball, right? Mm-hmm. She has corrected that. So give kudos to Sakari for not hitting off the back foot on her forehand so much anymore and actually stepping into the ball and hitting through the ball and swinging freely, number one. And number two, kudos to her coach or staff or team for rectifying that issue. Could it have been our shows that she paid attention to?
Sakari or Sabalenka?
Sakari hitting off the back foot. Yeah. Now, Sabalenka, with that said, who said that?
Wildlife.
Wildlife is a big Sabalenka fan.
Why do you like Sabalenka, Wildlife? Why?
But Sabalenka had the same issue, except Wildlife, if you go back and look at film over the past couple of years, Sakari would hit the forehand anywhere on the court, whether inside out on the backhand side, whether on the forehand side, no matter what, you would see her hitting the ball, falling away off the back foot. The ball would land short, and leading her opponent to come in and thump the ball. Sabalenka did have a forehand issue, and she is correcting it, but it wasn't necessarily that issue.
She hits everything
She
hard.
just hit it so dang hard and would always go cross court. She would always, in trouble, if Sabalenka was in trouble, she had one gear. Knock the daylights out of the ball and go cross court. People did what? They would either give her that shot knowing she would put too much on it or miss it, or number two, go defend that corner. Do you see what I'm saying? And they both, Sabalenka and Sakari, have rectified these issues.
Yeah. So guys are asking us here, when are they finishing your house? When are you going back to your setup? Hopefully the end of January.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
We were told by Thanksgiving we would be in it in November. We were told before our oldest son got here from the Air Force Academy. He stayed here a month and is already back. We were told at the beginning of January, well, it's the 11th, happy birthday to my sister out there and happy birthday to my dad yesterday out there. And now we are told by the end of January. I'm glad they asked that. When we get back into our studio or setup, I'm going to leave the walls blank, so no pictures and strings all over the wall. I will put our YTech stuff up there. I love those guys. But I'm going to leave a blank wall. We'll call it like the Wall of Shame or the Hall of Fame or the Wall of Fame, whatever. And if you guys want to send stuff in, I'll pin it up on the wall. So that way when we record the shows, you can see your stuff. Flags, whatever you want. I'll put
Michael
it up
Walker said working with contractors and waiting on your home can cause a divorce marriage. Divorce end? Not for us.
No, yeah, not for us.
We've been through a lot.
Yeah.
You have no clue, Michael Walker. No clue.
Yeah,
and I've been through a lot before with my family. Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
This is a walk in the park.
Yeah, there was a time where Carla and I went on a restaurant venture, so we opened a restaurant. Anyway, I'm glad that's over. But after we had to close it, there was our five kids, Carla, myself, a dog, and a cat. And we all lived in a small studio hotel room for like 3 months.
Yeah.
And they didn't know about the cat and the dog, so we had to sneak them in every night in luggage. And then finally they found out about it, and then they kicked us out.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, we've been in a lot worse living situations than this for a long time with 5 kids.
Yeah. Danny Medved said, congrats to your son, by the way. I saw the videos of him at the Air Force Academy and him arriving at the airport. Meet you. Yep, he left 4 or 5 days ago?
Yeah.
He's there, he started school, he's happy, and told him work hard so you can get the best summer program that they have out there.
Yeah, so thank you for that. Back to Kenen, and then I'm going to crash this subject. Kenen again, luckily got through Flipkins, barely beat Putintseva, and loses with a bagel in the third to Sakari. Now, after Kenen barely beat Putintseva, Kenen interviewed and told the interviewer that if it wasn't for her being a Grand Slam champion, that she wouldn't have pulled the match out against Putintseva. Now, after getting a bagel to Sakari, I don't know how she corrects that statement. Did the Grand Slam champion help her with that bagel?
No.
Because of this bagel in the third set, do you have a really hard time believing she's going to win the Australian Open?
I don't think so.
Do you think she will win the Australian Open? Isn't she trying to defend her crown there?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, is she going to be a one and done? Do you think Kenen is going to be a one and done like Wozniacki, even though she's way older, like an Anna Ivanovic, even though she was way older, or is it still too young to say? One and done?
It's too young to say, because women, as we know, we don't know we have different Grand Slam champions. Who knows? I don't know.
All right. Next thing, real quickly, Andreescu. There's not much to say about her because
Team Girl said Kenen was bagel in Rome and then reached the French Open final, but she didn't win.
Good
she
knowledge
barely
drop.
played the finals, barely.
Good knowledge drop right there. Who said
she got
that?
her eyes whooped.
Who said that?
Team Gross.
That's stat of the day right there, bro. Stat of the day. Stat of the day. Andreescu still plans to play the Australian Open. I would not be shocked if there was some last-minute pullout here.
She says she's training with Rybakina.
Good for her. Good partner.
Yeah.
Rybakina has a really gnarly forehand, too. Unfortunately, it didn't get her through that Sabalenka match.
Yep.
Your thoughts and 10 words or less about Andreescu if she plays the Australian Open. Your thoughts. 10 words or less.
10 words?
10
It's
words
like
or
one
less.
word?
Whatever.
Rusty, out of shape,
Okay.
no confidence,
Okay.
beatable.
Okay. Fair enough. My 10 words or less would be I would be shocked if she still played.
Yeah.
To jump into a major, your first tournament back, I get it. She wants to play, but like you said, there's rusty, you might be a little bit out of shape, and maybe your fitness isn't 100% shape, and you've been putting work in the gym and so forth, but the movements and a major on a tennis court, it's hard to replicate those movements if you haven't been doing those movements, so you have to be careful for injury.
Well, here's some people who have words for you. William Spencer said 2 words, won't win.
Good one.
Well, I've said can't stay healthy for 2 weeks.
Good one. I like it.
Yep, that's it.
So, I'd be shocked if she played. I think that there's more. I mentioned this before in the last show. I think there's more than meets the eye that is going on with her. Generally in sports, all you sports fans, I'm a huge sports fan. All sports, I'll keep up with them. But if I'm an NFL quarterback and my quarterback is
injury prone,
if my quarterback is on the bench and the starter, I'm keeping the media, I'm keeping my fans up to date with progress, where you are, what's going on, sending pictures out of them training in the weight room and so forth. There is none of this here. I know in regular life, if you keep your mouth shut, ignorance is bliss. It's better not to know anything and just keep your mouth shut. But in elite sports where there's millions of dollars at hand and sponsors and everything else, not hearing anything is usually a very bad thing.
Yeah.
So will Andreescu play? I don't think so. She says that she is, and hopefully she does. But I would think there's a big chance for injury or a big chance for a setback if it's too soon.
By the way, Tom Brady won.
She's not a true Buccaneers fan. She's a Tom Brady fan.
Won.
So if he's playing somewhere, then she's rooting for her.
Where's B-Dog? Because he would
He's been kind of quiet lately.
Yeah, B-Dog. What are you?
All right. Next topic. This will be another quick one. Which of these two countries has the worst tennis right now? Now, we've talked about the U.S. tennis situation for a long time. We just talked about it a second ago with the courts and public facilities and how expensive the equipment and run down the courts are, right?
Mm-hmm.
But which of these two countries, or if you could come up with another one, let me know and I'll add it, has the worst men's tennis? The Great Britain or England, UK, or the United States?
I would say the UK right now.
I don't know.
Everyone in the UK right now is a veteran. Murray, hit. Yeah. Evans, veteran. Kyle Edmund,
Norrie, Dan Evans.
I just said that.
Okay.
Veteran.
Yeah.
At least the Americans, it's not good either. I mean, Tiafoe, Isner, Query done. But we have American younger ones trying to make noise.
But the quality of those younger players trying to make noise. Now, the younger players
Korda, what's his name? Korda?
Sebastian Korda. He's got promise. Okay. But are you going to tell me Tommy Paul is an exciting upcoming US player?
No, these are college players. McDonald, they're all like washed up players.
Yeah, they're just
like in the late 20s. But there are young ones, like really young ones trying to come out. I haven't heard anybody from the UK, young guy, trying to come out. Have you? Can we name one? Not Norrie, because Norrie's been on the tour for a little while.
And not Jamie Murray, Andy Murray's doubles partner brother, but an up-and-coming young British player. And better yet, give me a credible up-and-coming U.S. player. I guess you could say Marcus Giron, but, no offense, but these type of players, Marcus Giron, Tommy Paul, all these guys, I played these same type of guys in college.
I'm not talking about those guys. I'm talking about their young guys. I forgot their name. There was one that qualified at the U.S. Open. He had the mohawk hairstyle. He was a young kid. There are many young kids, Americans, but I have not heard of a UK guy, a young guy.
Yeah.
I have not even a few. And I'll read some of these comments. Michael Walker says, Dan Evans is the man from my hometown, so I'm biased.
Michael, he's British?
Yeah, he's British.
Cool.
Yinghao says, UK for sure. Team Grove says, yeah, at least the U.S. has more depth and some young coming through. That's what I'm saying.
But the young, what I'm getting at though is the young coming through, and maybe, and I don't want to say this the wrong way, but maybe not everyone is aware of kind of the level, I guess you could say, at pretty much every D1 college in the United States. Mm-hmm. Most of these college players, if you've seen one, you've seen them all. They're younger, and they have.
Well, the American guys. If you see the college players that are from like other countries, then you're like,
yeah. Look, so let's say Kevin Anderson came to college. I think he went to like Illinois State or something. He is not an example of a college player. College players that are stereotypical in the U.S. are those like, and no offense, but the Tommy Pauls and the Girones and
McDonald
and then Stevie Johnson and all these guys, and and I say that because if you've seen one, you've seen them all. They either have two things. They either hit all forehands, inside out, forehand, 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 or they have a big serve like
Well, look
Query.
at Tiafoe. Look at Tiafoe. It's the same style.
It's the same. It's a
just
serve and a
ugly.
forehand.
Yeah.
So they don't have a lot of variety. And again, the level of play, such as these guys, is the same thing that I experienced in college. I wouldn't be scared to step on the court against these guys, but
Yeah.
I think I would be a little more scared to step on the court with Dan Evans, right?
Yeah.
Versus like Tommy
William
Paul.
Spencer said Jay Clark, 22, ranked 191.
Okay.
That's one. Yeah, the guy I was talking about, Team Girls, is J.J. Wolf. Yeah.
There you go. I thought he was Australian though.
No, he's American, and you can tell he's American. He's got that, that style, like he's trying to be like Agassi. Agassi came out with that, different style. But Taylor Fritz, see there, yeah, I mean,
Taylor Fritz is a good one.
Yeah,
He's a good little player. Taylor Fritz is a much better player than the likes of Tommy
to
Paul.
me, he's better than Tiafoe.
Yeah, he's definitely better than Tiafoe. He's better than Jerome and Tommy Paul. But again, these Jerome Pauls and these type of guys, no offense to them, but they're just your stereotypical college kid.
Tiafoe's right now, he's in the quarterfinals at Delray Beach. I think he faces, who does he face? Tiafoe will face Nori.
Okay, well, there you go. Battle of the U.S. guy
And Korda versus Isner.
Hey,
Harrison is another one.
check that out. We're talking about what's the worst country's men's tennis, and here you are. They're all in Delray, and they're playing one another. All right.
Oh, man.
Okay, so shifting gears from that subject, I think that was it on that one. Yeah. Either way, Britain and the U.S.
So William gave me another one. We have Jan Choinski, 300 ranking in the mid-20s. That's as good as it gets for us. The Murray's effect never happened.
Yeah. And both countries, by the way, U.S. and Great Britain, did not make the ATP Cup. That's going to be taking place February 1st through the 5th, prior to the Australian Open. So don't forget about that. The ATP Cup used to be the Davis Cup. I'm a Davis. So it was a family thing for us to really get into the Davis Cup. So hopefully the ATP Cup will continue that tradition. But if you're a U.S. tennis fan or a British tennis fan, you will not be in that competition. All right? There was a comment that Looney Vids, do you remember, there's a viewer out there, Looney Vids, he made a comment yesterday, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of his comment, he had like a simple question, and I didn't write it down. If you can find that, I remember I wanted to address the question.
Yes, I'm on it right now.
And it was the very last sentence, I think, the very last sentence.
Yes. He says, the end of 2021 will be a very large retirement party for various reasons, which COVID is one. He said a lot of older players are desperate to qualify, desperate, and now they won't even have that chance to have many tournaments because of the COVID.
Was that our last video?
That was our video on, yep.
All right.
Serena Yastremska.
So I read it. Now I think you just read it as he's saying that this year 2021 would end with a lot of retirements.
Yeah.
Now, are you talking? Did you read it as a lot of people are retiring matches, or people are retiring careers?
He says the older players are desperate to qualify for the Australian Open, and he said they won't even have a chance because of the pandemic. There won't be many tournaments to qualify, so they have to play these Grand Slam qualifying rounds to, and what we're gonna see is a lot of them retire by the end of the year.
Yeah, and the first round of qualifying is going on now.
And I even wrote a few players that I'm shocked are still playing tennis.
Now, before she reads these players, we kind of worked together on this one for a little bit. Who are some players? Name some players that either A, you can't believe are still playing, even though the reason why a lot of these players are still playing is because they have to play to feed their kids and pay rent, right? Just saying. But number two, who are some players that you are shocked that are still playing? Number one. Who are some players that you think, without a doubt, this will be their last year? And I know we're going to say the likes of Roger Federer. Sure, get that one out of there.
I like this. Karlovic.
Ivo, the big serving.
Tommy Robredo. Yes, Alex Cuellar. As a matter of fact, he played the first round to qualify, and he lost. I was shocked he's still playing.
Karlovic. Who said Karlovic?
Wildlife.
Great addition, Wildlife, because I didn't even think about that one. He's the oldest player on tour, and I think the oldest player to still be on tour in history, I think. At least on the current, the open era. I'm not talking back in the Bill Tilden days. I'm talking open era. I think he's the oldest player on tour. Okay, that's a good one. Who else?
Tommy Robredo, he lost in the qualies.
Okay.
Feliciano Lopez, he just had a child.
How about Fernando Verdasco?
Yeah.
You think Verdasco is?
He's got a couple more years in him. Kuznetsova, that's a good one, Matt King.
That's a great one.
That's a good one. I had here Klazan playing still lost. Fabiano lost. Donskoy lost. Easterling lost. They were trying to qualify. Galbis lost. Another veteran. Yeah. Lorenzi, why are you still playing? Lost.
Lorenzi has the weirdest looking eyes. Have you ever seen Paolo Lorenzi's eyes? He looks like a goldfish. Big out. Whoa. Mm-hmm. All right, anyway.
I think Feisters.
Isn't that Lorenzi with the funky eyes?
Yes, the Italian. Vina should retire. Yes, agree. Let's see who else. Guillermo Garcia Lopez.
It's a good one.
Okay.
How about
Murray?
How about Marcel Groundlers? He's a double specialist though, isn't he?
Yeah. And then there's a few guys that Troitsky went through, and he's a veteran.
I like Troitsky.
First round. So I thought that was good. I mean, we got Bouchard, who's a veteran who qualified the first round. You got Piriskova, another one who qualified won her first round, who was a veteran as well.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of them. There's a lot more of them, I think. But again, we play because we love the game. Mm-hmm. If I was still able to know in my head that I can go out and play more than, a few matches in a week without being absolutely in pain, mm-hmm. then I would do so. And again, this goes back to Roger Federer and Serena Williams, that when you get to a certain age, it's not that you don't love the game. It's not that you can't beat the best players in the world on any given day. It's just that when you have to do it day after day or after every other day, it's just the body doesn't heal very well. Carla and I, we've been playing sets and keeping track of those sets just for bragging rights and so forth. And man, we'll go out and play one of those hard sets, and then all of a sudden I'll be like, man, I can't play the next day, even if I tried. My shoulder's
messed up today. Troitsky, I saw it. He won his first round. I saw his name. I mean, if he's a coach and playing, wow.
Yeah, and also those of you out there that are going to be playing the fantasy team competition and the tennis racket giveaway for the Australian Open, and I'm getting more and more privy to the idea of buying whoever wins a new tennis racket instead of one of our demos. But again, that's still up in the air. Mm-hmm. But don't forget, for you fantasy team competition players, that I added a 9th player to that team for the Australian Open, or to the teams. So one of them needs to be a men's.
Yep.
That's another good one. So, one of them needs to be a wild card or a qualifier on the men's side, and a wild card or a qualifier on the women's side, and they're worth 3 points apiece. So this is a very good topic here for those that are going to be playing fantasy teams. So Troitsky won his first qualifying match.
Yeah, he's also a Davis Cup captain.
So
Serbia. I didn't know that.
Troitsky, if he can qualify for the Australian Open, Troitsky would be a great pick for that 3-point wild card pick, unless he has to play Djokovic in the first round, which would not be a big surprise, because how many times over the years do they get countrymen and face them off in the first round of a major? Man, they put Felix and Shapovalov all the time. They put Raonic and Shapovalov. They put, I mean, the list goes on. They always pair up fellow countrymen all the time in the first round. But watch out for Troitsky.
Layla C says Fognini has health issues too. He isn't the top of talent anymore with Berrettini and Sinner coming up, so he might start thinking of retirement.
That's a good one too.
Yeah.
I never was a really big Fabio fan. Mm-hmm. All right, let me make sure I've hit everything.
Well, Master Splinter.
Who?
Master Splinter, Dominic Thiem.
What about him?
Has a new hottie.
Oh, he does have a new girlfriend.
Yeah, his girlfriend is German, a dancer, a circus performance. I looked at her pictures. That's a very beautiful girl.
Well, you said something else.
But Dominic Thiem beats her in the ass department still.
So Dominic Thiem has a bigger butt than his girlfriend?
Yeah.
Let's go.
Oh, man.
All right, who won the who are we sending the?
He said pass it on. Team Rose.
All right. We've talked about Djokovic. We talked about Serena. Your bets with Cam Williams and Marie TL. Zverev and Ferrer split. Kenen, we've talked about that. Nadal's cousins. Sabalenka's streak. Does Sabalenka have a better chance in your head of winning the Australian Open this year because of this win streak?
No.
You still have the same beliefs that there's no way.
Same beliefs. But listen, we didn't talk about the girls out there. I had some American players that went through the first round qualified. Osigwe.
Good one, good pick.
McNally.
Okay.
I think that was Dolhai did not qualify. Bouchard, Buzarnescu, Zarenko beat Popovich, which was a young player. Yeah. Javon and Pirinkova and Levchenko and Baptiste, the American player.
Yeah, watch your qualifiers that are doing well because that's going to be really important. if you're planning to win big prizes for the Australian Open on fantasy teams. By the way, something I missed, I put out a poll question not long ago on who you all thought would win the ATP Cup, and I put my choices as A, like France, B, Australia, C, Spain, and D, Serbia. The Serbian votes won by a landslide. However, a couple people definitely put in other in a country they thought had a really good opportunity of winning, and it was Russia. I should have written that one in there over, say, Australia or somebody in terms of solid choices. I did not realize that both Rublev and Medvedev will be playing. But in this type of format, the doubles team is important because you have 4 rubbers, so you'll play a singles match or 2 singles matches and a doubles match, and then you'll have a tie-breaking rubber is what they call it, at least for the Davis Cup they did. So you have to look at the doubles teams too, but that's a really good one. So Russia should be in that conversation as well. We talked about Sakari, Andreescu, how bad the U.S. and British tennis is currently. So yeah, that's all I've got.
Yeah, and Layla, thank you for watching. She says she has to go back to work. We're pretty much done as well.
Let's go.
Yep.
Keep up with us in comments. Let's keep the discussion going. Please subscribe if you haven't already. We have been doing giveaways, cash, strings, attire every single show so far this year. The only thing to do is just to subscribe to qualify. It's free to subscribe, so hey, just hit the button, hit the like button, and that will qualify you for any of our giveaways. So free to do so. Much love to all. Thanks to all of you. Without all of you, we have no motivation to sit right here.
Yeah, it's a cold day today.
All right.
Cold.
Much love, guys. Vamos. Let's go.
Yep.
Stay tough, work hard, and we'll see you very soon.
Bye-bye.